Good evening and welcome to Let's Drone Out. This week we are again short a Jack, but he has replaced himself with a special guest. So we will get around to introducing everyone. This week we have Andy RC.
How do?
Kari Kitten.
Hello.
NJ.
Hello.
Tony.
Bonjour.
And so-called the Gimbal Gimp is what he's put himself down as on here. So Sheldon, how are you doing today?
I'm okay. Thanks for having me. How's the Let's Drone Out team?
We're all good, I think. To kind of give everyone
that's a bit of a stupid question.
to give
everyone
just give everyone a bit of background on how you've come to be on the show this evening. Where are you speaking from right now?
I am speaking from Drone Doctor Towers here in Brighton.
And what do you do at Drone Doctor?
We mostly repaired. We do a few other bits. We also fly tiny whoops on each other's faces. And yeah, that's about it.
And then we've
yes.
I don't know whose internet is lagging out.
Probably me, I think. But yeah, we mainly just do DJI repairs. That's our thing.
It's an interesting thing already because most people who fly sort of FPV, the race style drones, would sort of put the proposition forward that DJI drones don't crash. Do you just push them around the sky? But exactly what are people managing to do with them? Is there any interesting crash stories there about exactly what they were doing and what happened to their quads?
Yeah, I've always wondered the same thing. Since the obstacle avoidance has been in all of the DJI drones, well, apart from the Mavic Mini, we thought at one point, when the Phantom 4 came out with obstacle avoidance, we thought, okay, we don't have a business anymore. It turns out to not be the case because certainly DJI's obstacle avoidance is not to be trusted. And unfortunately, it's marketed. DJI have a habit of doing this. They basically market it as being, it will stop you crashing, but it won't. In many cases, for example, if it's poor lighting conditions, then the vision sensors won't detect an obstacle. If it's something like a tree with branches moving around in the wind, it won't actually detect that as an obstacle. So it'll happily fly into it.
DJI gets defeated by Scraggle.
They get defeated by many things, actually, but
Scraggle in the English weather, the grey and drizzle.
Have we explained to the viewers what Sheldon's role is, what his job is?
Fixing Mavics and stuff by the sounds of it.
So I just want to ask just a quick question, because I had a Phantom 4, and when I received it, it had a dead pixel on the camera. So I contacted DJI, and they sent me a label to print off. I sent it to my I dropped it off at my local UPS thing, and it went to Europe somewhere. So why didn't it go to you? Are you something separate from DJI is my question.
Yes, thank God. We're not part of DJI. We're the recommended and authorized repairer for the UK, so we're listed on the website. We're the only company with that. But we are an independent company. I own Drone Doctor. There's 6 of us here that repair drones. And so we are entirely separate from DJI. Their main repair center for Europe is in Holland.
Yes, that's where. So are these DJI models that are out of warranty then, that customers have to pay for to get fixed?
Well, very occasionally people will do something through us that should be done, and we'll go through the hassle of DJI. But any sort of crash damage, if someone makes a mistake, that's not covered under warranty. If they don't have DJI care, then it comes through to us. We deal with a number of insurance companies as well. So we do their repairs. So it's mainly we do get more of a given model once they go out of warranty, though. Once they all start becoming a year old, we get more of them because, warranty covers expired. But we don't do any warranty work.
Perfect. That's what I wanted to know. Okay, carry on.
NJ, what was your DJI tale that you were teasing us with?
Well, no, all it is that that's the fact that 10 years of off and on buying DJI products. The first time I've had something actually go wrong, which was of the 2 air units I was sent. Well, I say I was sent. I actually purchased. They weren't sent to me for review. One of them, it was actually, they both came in via Banggood because I had some points in my account anyway, so I got those over. And the MSP on one of them doesn't work, which was hilarious trying to chat with their technical team because obviously I have 2 air units here, so it's very, very easy to cross-reference what works and doesn't work on when you've got one working air unit and one that doesn't, because you just take the harness out, plug the other one in, and when everything works, you're like, well, there's your answer. There's nothing wrong with my wiring. But of course, a ton of stupid questions ensue from technical support. Can you send me pictures of your ports tab? Can you take a picture of your flight controller wiring? I'm like, yes. I'll jump through all those hoops, but I have to. It works on one, it doesn't on the other. Therefore, the one that doesn't work has a problem with the MSP. Eventually, they agreed to this.
Yeah.
And then after going through all of that, the person, Maggie, which I'm sure is her real name, in technical support, then sent me an email to say, I've looked at your serial number and I noticed that this is a US air unit, and therefore we will not be covering your warranty. You'll have to send it to the Netherlands, which I think is possibly the closest regional repair spot that does the warranty work, as Sheldon was saying. And at which point I wrote back a little bit disgruntled, having jumped through all of those hoops, and said, well, is it not somewhat your responsibility to make sure that you're selling this, wholesaling this to retailers that are honest with their customers? I said, nowhere on the page does it say, it says 1 year warranty, but it doesn't say that we'll ship globally, but we'll only provide a warranty regionally. So I use lots of words like misguided and various other things that they probably look up and then go, oh, I think he means business, and they have actually honoured it. And they said, okay, we're really sorry. We'll I think maybe many people would have turned around and gone, well, I guess I'll have to get it repaired, but they have actually agreed to honour it. So I think that's where it's going to end up going. But yeah, that's my current thing with DJ.
NJ, at any point did you say I was Nicole Scherzinger's guitarist?
No, I might have mentioned that I have a fairly solid subscriber base on YouTube, and I'd be happy to talk about my experience with DJI support should this not go in my favour.
Well, you wouldn't be the first one. DJI support or lack of is one of the reasons we exist. If their repair services were really good and they were very responsive and useful, then why would people use us? But they're not. So
I've always found them to be great. But I've always, it's always been like a brand new product that's under warranty. So perhaps, but what
they have gotten better on some things, but as soon as you disagree, that's when it becomes an issue.
What confused me about NJ's situation is that I don't know whether they've tightened their policies, but I bought a Phantom 4 direct from China because it was so much cheaper, as is the reason why many people buy DJI stuff from China. And they just, I think they were like, just fill out an RMA form and that was it. So I was confused when NJ was like, oh yeah, I had trouble, but maybe they've gotten that big and there's that many product. We're talking a few years. We're talking when the Phantom 4 was released. So perhaps they've changed their policy a little bit, and it's more of a regional thing now. But I was confused by that. So I feel bad for NJ as well, because I was like, oh yeah, you can save so much money buying it from here. That's where I got it from.
Well, the thing that irritated me was they then went on in the email to say how they're not liable then, as it'd have to go to the US for repair, that they would not be liable for the customs and import duties and blah, blah, blah. And then went on to say, however, if you would like to pay for our repair service, and I thought, this is fresh out the box. That's particularly uncool. To take that line with me. So, yeah, power of the strongly worded email, I think, is the...
NJ, you could talk anybody into anything. I'd jump off a cliff tomorrow if you told me to do so. If you were like, this will really benefit your life, I would be like, NJ told me to do it. It's got to be right.
I was geared up for a fight, but I didn't. Thankfully, they backed straight down. But I'm sure there are probably instances where they haven't, and they leave people with a bitter taste in their mouth. But there has to be something to do with. I think there was a point where DJI were very robust in their customer service, and that was when they were at a point where they were sort of booming as a company, and now they're into that real growing pain stage where they're getting so big that now you're talking about dealing with support on a much larger scale.
They've gotten too big for that.
It's been the way for a long time.
Sorry,
they've never put time. They have never actually caught up with the support. I mean, we're a DJI dealer and we get terrible support every day. We have people calling up complaining about something rather than DJI. It would be, yeah, it's in with them. Unfortunately, they can be good sometimes. When
I was going to say, I've got nothing but good experience with them. That's the thing, isn't it? If it only takes one bad experience for someone to go, it's a pile of crap, don't ever trust this company. And it's like, I sent my P4 to them, I sent my Air to them, and I sent my Mavic to them, and each time, they were all bought from China, and each time they so NJ, once you sorted this out, did they send you the UPS label and all of that? No,
what they've done is in this latest email where she said, look, we'll honor it, we're really sorry. They didn't really discuss any of the things that I highlighted with them. It was a very simple email back to say, yeah, fine, you can repair it, we'll cover it. But the email did say, if you now go ahead and use this link to do an online booking form, give me the case number, and then we'll make sure that the cost is covered by them.
Covered, you're right.
So I expect it must be. Sorry, I expect it must be quite interesting if you think about the warranty claims DJI must get. Think about the amount of people that are pretty stupid and fly into trees, and then like my drone's broken because it hit a tree, and you guys said it wouldn't. Therefore, it's a failure. It's all your fault. You need to repair it. And this sort of thing must go on all the time. So perhaps
people who don't even know how to use it at all. People don't read them. They always calibrate the compass before flight. There's some people on forums. Whenever a customer calls up and they say we've been on the forums, I always think, oh god, because there's for every good bit of information, there's 3 retards who are spouting out bullshit. Because people read it on the internet as text, they take it as gospel.
Get it scrolling.
We had a naughty word. Any views expressed by any guest on this show, brackets Sheldon, are personal and may not reflect the views of the host or any participant on the show. We treat people of all mental illnesses the same.
Is that a new addition to the disclaimer?
Sheldon, don't worry. As it goes, this has been the longest we've had in a while without needing to bring the disclaimer up. Already you're winning, so honestly, don't worry about it.
No.
But yeah, it's interesting, the DJI thing, because, as you said, the thing with people going in the forums, I mean, having seen this from like I said, that it was probably about 10 years ago, the very early products started rolling out. You only have to keep sort of in mind with and keep an eye on what's going on. You get used to terms like the DJI dance and all the other bits and pieces that go along with it. But I can imagine there are a lot of people that do come to you that just haven't a clue what they're doing.
I remember the term return to China being used back in the NASA days when the RTH went wrong.
That's right. Yeah.
I'm just loving every so often you're hearing the DJI tone. It's like when you hear that tone, it's like an advert almost, you know.
Are we getting sponsored by them?
This episode is sponsored by DJI.
We all say DJI though, don't we?
No,
we don't.
We say DJI, but if you say it fast, it sounds like a G. I've figured it out.
Sorry, Sheldon, what were you saying just before we got away?
Oh, I can't remember. I've got a lot of things to complain about.
How many bits do you receive that have been flown in the rain? Because I don't know if anyone's seen the. I mean, it was in the news recently, but there was also a pair of safety notices released by the CAA.
Yeah, this is nothing new.
Saying
it was incredible. It's like having a safety notice saying "Don't run with scissors." It was that basic, but on a CAA level.
There was one safety notice saying "Don't fly in the rain," and the other safety notice saying "Don't fly over people." That was basically the sum total. But there was many pages to these safety notices. Out of interest,
it's about it.
NJ, did you receive a copy of these safety notices, having been someone that's signed up and abandons the hobby and signed up directly through the DMA or through the CAA?
Andy,
did they take the opportunity to use your email address and send you this information?
There's no accusing you of being someone who sits on the fence there, Frank, is there?
Hang on. What's happened? What have I missed?
I signed up to it because I wanted to know if I was going to get all the questions right, which I did, and then by doing so, I accidentally registered.
Oh, right. I was going to say, because Lurgy is asking to Andy, sorry, Frank, are we getting a recap on the £9 thing, Frank?
Go through either BMFA or FPV UK if you've signed up to them already, you can do it through them, and either the RCC through BMFA, or there's the A test on FPV UK that will get you sorted with the flyers flyer ID signed up for that. But then the operator ID, which is the £9 thing, you can either pay the £9 through one of the associations, say through the BMFA or the FPV UK, and you can do that by just going and logging in and finding out the tick box and then saying yes, please take £9 more. Or you can do it directly through the CAA and do it that way and abandon the hobby and give them better numbers. NJ.
Hey, for experimental purposes, it's important that we all are diverse about this, and that now I've done it that way. So now you guys can do it the other way, and then we can see all our different experiences.
Yep.
I'm just looking at my emails now, and I've had 3. Your registration code, gov.uk paid to say that they've got my £9, and your drone and model operating ID details, flyer ID details, and then a bunch of pretty. Yeah, just faff. So yes, so the answer to your question is no.
Which is interesting. I would have thought if they're collecting people's email addresses of people that are operators or flyers of small unmanned aircraft, maybe sending the notices that are addressed to all operators and flyers of unmanned aircraft. Maybe they should send that. But there we go. You can.
So now I'm the mole. That's why I am.
But NJ,
I'm in amongst them
for journalistic purposes.
Journalistic research. NJ, are you not a member of one of the organisations though, FPV UK or BMFA?
During a resubscription error, I'm actually a member of both.
So you're going to have 3 operator IDs. That's a good tactic.
It means I can be naughty with 2 of them. Brilliant.
They didn't think of that, did they?
But actually, I want to bring this back to Sheldon because, with this legislation and stuff like this, it's something I'm worried about as my career relies on it, as does yours. Do you see a reduction in work coming your way with this legislation, or do you expect to see a bunch of DJI drones without any operated IDs on the side of them, and business as usual.
It's the second one. It's actually the second one.
Well, that's the answer I wanted
is
to
what
hear.
we're seeing. Yeah, I haven't registered personally. I've registered Drone Doctor, and the guys who test fly are registered, but I haven't. And fuck everyone, so I'm not going to. So yeah, but
and that's from DJI
I think it's a
people.
terrible idea. Yeah, no, I see the reasons for it, but I don't think it's very smart. It's not. It's just basically a waste of time. It's just a tax that won't actually achieve anything at all. There is no way it can fulfill its intended purpose. No, but we're seeing we are seeing very simple sending in drones. The drone I've got in my hand has got the guy's flyer ID and his operator ID, so I probably shouldn't show it. But
no, show it,
thing is the privacy issue.
Tony wants to put it on his, so if you could show that one.
Yeah, because I've got a trip down Gatwick later.
Yeah, this side hustle flying trucks into prisons. Yeah,
what's the instance
because
actually where you need to put both? I thought you only needed your operator ID on the side. Do you need your flyer ID as well?
No, I think this guy's just being enthusiastic.
Oh right. He's put details about the things he likes as well. Says he likes gardening on this as well.
He's put his name on it and his mobile number. And
should we ring him live on air?
Oh, do you know what though?
It's got his address as well.
That person really wants their drone back.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's actually aside from all of this stupid regulation, that's actually a really good thing to do, because if you follow all of the rules, you register, you put your code on the side. Really, you're out of control if your drone just flies away. That's not your fault, and it can happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know. So when the first thing I did when I got my Phantom 4 was put my name and address, and also reward. Because I wanted it back. So that's the sensible thing to do, I think.
I've been encouraging people for ages to put details on their quads, because so many people I know have lost a quad, and where they're flying so in the middle of nowhere, if someone finds
even with your buzzer recommendations, and
not everybody follows that. Not just if you're really keen to get it back, put I put an email address and a mobile number on. I was like, if found, please call, just in case, because if someone just comes across it, a walker, they won't know what to do with it. Also, if you want to be really paranoid, when you've got your GoPro or whatever on the SD card, put a little README file or a video saying "watch me" and say, "This is my drone. Please contact me here." Just in case your camera flies off.
But if you do that, you have to have the camera face. You have to put a white lab coat on. You have to present it like Q presenting it to James Bond.
Or you could be threatening. You give this back.
Yes, this SD card will now corrupt your entire computer in 30 seconds. I always think that at some point, a drone's just. I assume a lot of them just end up in fields and end up going into a combine harvester, and one day I expect to be eating my cornflakes and find a beck in the middle of one of these.
What? You haven't had that yet?
We did have a wing go down on a meet in like a barley field where it was like, this high, and we had like 20-30 people walking up and down this field trying to find it. Nobody could find it until it was ploughed, and it didn't look so hot then. It was all a bit folded up and stuff, but some of the components were salvageable. But yeah, it hasn't quite made it into the breakfast cereal yet. It goes back out again. I think the farmer notices this ka-chung ka-chung noise. That's just bits of white foam start flying up in the air and things.
Yeah, not so great. So where are you guys based, Sheldon?
We're in Brighton.
Oh, you're in Brighton. Oh,
yeah. I asked him that before. I asked him that before the show because I was like, "Are there any jobs going?" But Brighton's it's a bit too much of a commute every day. But it sounds like a good job. What a question I have, and I don't. You probably can't answer it, but I take it you were close with DJI, or do you not? Are you completely separate to them?
Well, we're not part of them. I mean, Drone Doctor originally sprouted off from First Person View, which I think was actually the first DJI dealer in the UK, and they were very, very big. I think they were the biggest for sure at one point. But so we have, I suppose, as a business, been dealing with DJI pretty much since they first started, as early as you could get, really. But that doesn't really mean anything because they've got a very high staff turnover rate. So, once you build up any sort of relationship with anyone, they're usually gone. So it's very hard to actually work, closely with them. What they do care about is how much you're ordering. So, if you're putting a healthy amount of money through them, then they'll pay your account a bit more attention.
What I was trying to get at is, do you get the juicy information of new products? No, because I've got a DJI contact, and he is like, it's like he's got a zip on his mouth. There's some news about the Air 2 potentially coming out.
There's 3 new drones coming out, I heard.
Well,
have you got this from dronedj.com? Because it's a good resource. Like, there needs to be a website like that to spread news, and it's obviously very popular. And they've done good advertising for me for free, which I appreciate. However, take what's on there with a pinch of salt, because they keep posting confirmed rumors. Unless it includes a picture or an actual spec sheet, then just forget about it, because there are actually a lot of retailers that have been affected because people are waiting for the Mavic 3 that's coming out in January. No, there's no Mavic 3 in January because the Mavic 3 is not coming out till later this year. Anyone who actually works with DJI knows this, because that's not how they're releasing stuff. And the Mavic 2 is nowhere near the end of its life cycle. The latest Mavic 2 that was brought out, the Mavic 2 Enterprise Dual, that was released a year ago. So it's not going to be replaced yet, and I don't think it'll be replaced realistically till the end of the year. So, when people are holding off buying, say, Mavic 2 or repairing their Mavic 2 because they think a Mavic 3 is coming out, that's actually quite upsetting for us. The only thing that is true out of those 3 drones that's definitely true that's coming out soon is the DJI M300. And I think that's probably been brought forward because of these recent issues with the M200. At the moment, a lot of police and many public service agencies, they've got old Inspire ones. Yeah, the M300.
Sorry to interrupt, but yeah, I just wanted to.
Sure.
The Matrice is an interesting one. That's an open source one, isn't it?
It's not open source, no, but you can. There's the SDK, so you can run various things on there.
Because isn't that somebody told me? I don't know if this is true, but wasn't it the Matrice that basically somebody figured out object avoidance, and it was the Matrice platform that they applied it to, and then DJI just went, thanks for that, and then took it and put it on all of their drones. Is that a rumor or not?
I don't think so. The Matrice 100, which was nowhere near as popular as the Matrice 200, that you could actually have an ultrasonic, what was it? Yeah, it was an ultrasonic sensor module. So you'd have all-round obstacle avoidance. But on all of DJI's pre-built products, they have stereoscopic visual sensing and time of flight infrared. So I don't think that's true. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
That
Fraser was asking, I think, quite a pointed question of, do you know whether the M300 will be better than IP43 rated?
Well, yes, they have to be, because with the recent problems of them being flown in the wrong type of rain. So the spec sheet that was, I'll get on to that in a second, but the spec sheet that was released shows IP44. They have to, because IP43 should be sufficient for a drone, but it's been proved that it's
Is it for people that don't,
is not good enough.
For people that don't know, the IP rating is ingress protection, so that's dust and water essentially. And yes, the recent safety notices and the recent news articles about police and other drones, Inspires and Matrices kind of falling out the sky when they've been flown in the rain above people. That's down to this, really. But
Isn't IP43 supposed to be you can like plunge it in water for like a minute
No.
or something? Or is
That's
that
like
higher?
IP46. Or that
okay.
would be. So the first part of the number is to do with ingress protection, and that actually has no bearing on the water protection. So it may be something which has got open moving parts, so it may only have a 1 at the beginning, but it has. I can't remember what the highest one. I think it's 7. It could be IP17, and that would be something where you can't actually stick. Where you could stick your finger in it, and you get your finger hurt, but you could also dunk it in a bucket of water. That would be very weird. But so the one, the first of the two numbers is to do with physical objects, so dust, or what they actually do is poke it with a piece of wire of a certain diameter, and if it goes in, then it will obviously fail that particular category. But the second one is for water. So the 3 is a basically they stick with water at an angle of up to 60 degrees from vertical. I think that's what it is. So kind of like rain, basically.
But apparently not quite right.
Yes.
There's a chart I'm just sort of staring at here. So the second digit, 1 protected against vertically dripping water. So there's, as you say, there's angles involved. 2 is protected against dripping water when tilted up to 15 degrees. 3 protected against spraying water. 4 protected against splashing water. All these types of waters. How interesting. 5 protected against jetting water. So that's okay. Yeah, you can piss against that one as hard as you can. 6 protected against powerful jetting water. 7 is protected against temporary immersion in water. And 8 is protection against continuous immersion in water. So there we go. That's the second digit explanation.
I like the idea of testing that with like a fire hose. It's like it survived the water, but we smashed it against the wall with the fire hose. Sorry about that.
Actually, a gentleman in the comments has just said something about powering the water in with high-powered fans probably matters. That was DJI's official response. They said, "Oh, it turns out that the testing house, which did the IP testing, didn't have the propellers on. They weren't running the propellers. But where the water was getting in was like through the base of the motor into the ESC housing. So, I think that actually was just an excuse.
These guys don't work. These guys don't work at Boeing as well, do they? Ouch.
But this actually ties in quite nicely with something else I want to sort of bring up with Sheldon. So if anyone's been following LDO for many years remembers way back when we did the LDO drone games down in Hidden Valley. So this was between Mini Air Show 2 and 3. So I think that must have been 2016, 17, something like that. And we had a great day, but we had 2 things. One thing we had was it rained quite heavily at the end, but we had Bradley brought along his Tupperware box quad, which had
the wiper.
So all the kit was in the Tupperware box, and it was flying around in the rain perfectly happily, and it also had a nice little windscreen wiper.
I remember FPV camera. When that was put up, it was quite early in the morning, and I was still in my tent, and all I heard was someone shouting, "Fat Shark 3! Everyone, Fat Shark 3!" And obviously everyone lying in their tent just sort of like fumbled for their goggles and put it on. And all you can see is this wiper going across like this in the FPV view, flying out in the rain. It was brilliant.
It was good. I think that may well have been IP47 rated at that point. But the other thing we had at the LDO drone games was we had a very interesting live broadcast, which both Sheldon and Clinton helped out with. So for this, Sheldon brought along his very large Piper Cub.
That thing was cool.
And Clinton very generously donated his brand new smartphone at the time. I can't remember what tablet it was, but it was brand new.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
And we just duct taped it to
As in LDO fashion.
duct taped it to the Piper quads, got it on Facebook Live, and it just went flying.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, that was
Did the stream work all the way through? I can't remember. I don't know if it cut out.
I think it was a bit bitty, but it
yeah.
There was frames that got through. It was proof of concept. But yeah, because Sheldon, you've obviously got some flying experience outside of DJI as well.
Well, yeah, I don't enjoy flying DJI stuff. Multi-rotors aren't my hobby. Back in the Emax 250 days, that's really it. Airplanes and helicopters. That's what got me into it in the first place. That's mainly what I do.
I can say, watching firsthand, ladies and gentlemen, that Sheldon is a very, very competent pilot, and he's downplaying it here, but he's very good indeed.
Well, it's good. It's good fun. It's a fun. It's good to have some hobby where you can practice skills and and actually get something out of it, i.e., the plane not crashing or learning new things. But
I think your biggest problem
works.
with your Emax 250 is that you refuse to have anything to do with the Tyrannus. I think that would have solved all the problems.
No, you can't hate on Futaba. I use FreeSky radio gear, but in a Futaba handset because I don't like the Tyrannus. It just feels too plasticky.
I heard some fairly reliable gossip because I've. Sheldon, you probably don't know this yet, but I've recently bought a Goblin and I'm getting back into helis again.
Oh, okay.
God knows why I decided to do that. Yeah, and commiserations. I was at the shop I went to get it from in Slough, a Line T-Rex, and they I was chatting to them, and the owner Raj was saying that Futaba are winding down their servo production. So that was just some interesting gossip because I had no idea. There's obviously, from the helicopter point of view, they made some they were kind of that had some like the 256 and 257s, and there were some good tail servos, but apparently they're that's all being wound down now.
The S925. I remember the S9254 with the GY 401. At one point, that was
still got one in the cupboard. Yeah.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I had that exact combination. I've
still got that on a helicopter. I haven't flown that in a long time.
Tony, what's your favourite servo?
The D1657. That would be an ID rating.
How is the heli looking? Have you moved it forward at all?
Sorry?
Have you got the Goblin anywhere near flying yet? Is it further on?
Do you know what? It's kind of there. I did the sensible thing when I first got it, which was to obviously not get completely lost in their ecosystem of Mikado. I bought the Mikado V-Bar, which is their flight controller. That's the golden flight controller that a lot of people use. It's not the only one out there, but it's very good. And I thought I'll use my Tyrannus and I'll use an XM Plus. And of course, the nonsensical thing to do at that point, which is exactly what I did, was to go, yeah, but if I had a V-Bar, I'll be able to program everything from the transmitter because you can program and change settings via its own telemetry and not have to land and take the canopy off and plug it into a computer every time you want to tweak settings. So, yeah, I went and bought a V-Bar controller, handset that is. And everything it's all good. It's all ready. And I'm just kind of waiting for a nice break in the weather to actually go and start remembering how to fly again. But yeah, I did fly up a Milton Keynes, had a little hover with it, give it its maiden. Andy was there with me. And yeah, it's they do have some magic, the old helis. Something about
what size Goblin is it?
So it's the little one. It's called the Fireball. It's the Havoc, which is like the top upgraded one. But essentially it's a 300. It's 6S 300, which is
Jesus.
And the thing that I found quite incredible about it, it's direct drive. So the motor is on the main shaft. Yeah.
It's like a big pancake motor. Yeah. The Multiplex Funcopter had that. That was a weird fixed pitch thing that no one bought. But that had a direct drive motor.
Yeah, and the powers, I mean, that just shows you that, the kind of torque it's generating, because there's people like Tarek who have
amazing,
absolutely thrown it around, and it deals with it. I think up at the high head speed, about 85%, it's something like 4,200 RPM, 4,500.
Right.
So yeah, it's a little monster, but it's quite well behaved at low head speed as well. So that's where I'll be.
Makes sense. No more stripped gears.
No, exactly. Well, that's why they called it the Fireball, is because it crashes really well. And I thought there's very little to kind of bust up on it, and all the parts like the side frames are plastic, and all the kind of standard breakable bits are all cheap for a Goblin. Let's put that into perspective.
Fireball give the impression that it crashes well, or that it bursts into flames. That was my sort of away from that name.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of helicopter crashes. There's a lot less parts on a model helicopter than there used to be, mainly because they've lost things like flybar and most linkage is just direct to the swash plate now. There's no kind of crazy geometry and lots of things that can bust on them. So it's not as bad, but they are still, big spinning carbon blades doing high RPMs and should be respected.
Yeah, scare the shit out of you. The really heavy helicopters now, they are very, very scary. At least with a nitro helicopter, you have the engine to scare you as well as the blades, so it kind of evens it out. But yeah, they're good fun. There's very few people who fly helicopters now. But actually, your question about Futaba, that wouldn't surprise me, because Futaba servos have always been quite expensive. And when there's new kids on the block like Savox and things who have been chipping away at their business, Futaba is a big electronics company. Their main business is making things like vacuum fluorescent displays and LCDs and stuff like that. So that's the only reason they still exist. For example, JR, Japan Radio, 20 years ago, they were huge. The main competitors of Futaba, the main people on the market were Futaba and JR. And really the only one left from those days is Futaba. Sanwa and everyone's gone. So, and that will happen very, very quickly. Once 2.4 came out, and then, fewer people started getting into modeling, that will happen very quickly. So, that wouldn't surprise me. Futaba thinking, we're kind of done with this now.
I still have my JR X378 with the old pull-out telescopic.
Oh, yeah.
Still in the loft. But I still think the JR X378 was kind of the basis for the Tyrannus. But I'm not sure who.
It's that case design.
It's got that very, very similar kind of feel to it. But I mean, the Tyrannus looks like the bastard child of several radios from the olden pegboard days.
It is still a copy of that old JR. I can't remember what the other names for it. PCM 9X 303. The original Spectrum DX7. That would look the same because JR used to manufacture all the radio gear for Spectrum, which is why the JR 2.4 gear was compatible with Spectrum up until the days of DSMX. And then that's when, I think at the end of DSM2 days, Spectrum started getting them manufactured by a Korean firm. Pretty sure they're in Korea. They also make the Groutner radios. And that was when JR just kind of disappeared.
The Tyrannus case being a clone isn't true, but that would be an entire hour's worth of.
Well, it looks very similar.
It's a heavily borrowed design. I don't care what anyone says.
Yeah,
it's not. It wasn't borrowed. It was an off-the-shelf case that was sold to them so that they could save money on not having to develop a case themselves.
What happened to ACOMs? Does anyone remember them?
ACOMs?
Oh.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah, for the old radio cars.
Yeah.
I think they are. I'm just Googling it because I'm interested myself. It looks like they still sell some bits. I don't really remember them from my time at SMC. I think they're basically gone now.
I used to have them with my RC cars years and years ago when I was a kid.
Yeah,
stuff.
So how long have you been in RC, Sheldon?
15 years at the latest count, I think. So it's interesting having seen. My first model was my dad and I built this. Mainly, my dad built this model that was incredibly heavy. It was fiberglass. It had a. Oh no! Before that, my very, very, very first model was this ready-to-fly thing, 27 megahertz, 2-channel, so rudder and throttle. My dad insisted on taking it on the first flight because at the time he just completed his pilot's license, so he thought, I know how to do this. Crashed it into a tree. He then decided to shoot it down out of the tree with an air rifle and shot straight through the receiver.
There is so much wrong with that. For example, 27 megahertz in the UK. Carry on.
So that was nothing really happened after that until I got a Protec Zoom 400 helicopter, and I was probably 7 years old. I couldn't fly it. I went through so many sets of spare blades. I then took that apart and we used the electronics in this model that we built, and it was way too heavy to fly. Eventually, we built a you-know-what because Chris Foss lives just down the road here in Shoreham. He's quite a funny chap. Yeah, he's worth meeting. He's
I'm having to contain myself here because a lot of Chris Foss models have been in my life. So carry on. I've got a friend also who'd be interested in hearing this, who's probably watching this. Carry on, Chris Foss.
Chris Foss, very quickly, he made some interesting models. He's one of the only people in the aero modeling scene, especially in the UK, to have ever made any money. And he did quite well. He copyrighted all of his designs. He sold shitloads of them back in the 80s and that sort of era.
I think you mean shed loads for the editor.
Oh, what the two? Sorry. Is this no swearing or is this?
Swearing's fine. We edit it out for public consumption.
Okay.
Fair enough.
How many Chris Foss? Okay, right. Competition. How many Chris Foss airframes have you owned then?
Not that many. I think about 5, maybe 6.
Oh, well, you beat me. So I had, I had the.
I just love the fact Andy issues a challenge. Well, how many?
And then loses in seconds.
I totally thought I was going to win this because I've been around a minute. But I
told you there was going to be some willy measuring.
Well, I always know I've got the smallest, whatever the topic is. So.
But before the show, I was asking both Andy and Sheldon who'd flown the biggest model, and how big was your biggest model, Andy?
Oh, I don't know. You know, so some would say 6 inches, some would say 5.5. Oh, model. I don't know, 12-foot wingspan, something like that. Maybe bigger.
And then
I don't know.
Sheldon, how big was that glider?
The way that I like to describe it is bog standard.
Bigger isn't always best, Andy.
Bog standard size. And when it comes to planes, 12 foot.
Sheldon, how big was that glider?
I've got a 4-meter glider. Well, I had. The wings need to be rebuilt, so because I've only got one wing for it now because the elevator servo failed.
Oh, so 2 meters then.
That servo's not in anyway. I'm sure it'll be fine.
No, it was a high-tech HS82, or it was, and then I.
Have you guys seen those videos where, and they're real as well, where a model aircraft will lose like half of its wing, and the guy manages to land it still? Those videos are me. I mean, there's a fake one out there that's a full-size thing where its wing completely falls off. That was done for an advert, I believe. But if you search the internet, you will find RC models that lose a good proportion of their wing, and they like land it amazing.
No, there's some true stories of it being done by fighter pilots. I think it was the F-15.
Really?
There was an F-15, yeah.
I mean, you can get. Everyone thinks it's all about how aerodynamic a wing is, and
Well,
at the end of the day, a brick can fly if it's got enough velocity.
The thing is, as well, what a lot of people, the side of an aeroplane can act as a wing. Obviously, knife edge. That's how knife edge works, and I suppose. But I don't know the F-15 story though.
Flying in formation, and they broke a wing off, and one of them was able to land with the wing missing. They had to fly faster than normal, but
very fast.
I
shot.
I don't know why they chose to do that. There will obviously be more to the story, but because ejecting can be fairly risky. Ejecting isn't a free pass to.
It's usually dislocated shoulders and broken bones and ribs most of the time, isn't it? Yeah.
And back problems. It compresses.
Yeah, I was going to say you end up being about a foot shorter after the ejection as well. It's pretty brutal. Yeah, I mean, you're strapped into a rocket chair, and the aim is to get you out of that and away from that plane as fast as possible. So,
Israeli Air Force F-15. If you Google F-15 one-wing landing, like the whole wing is missing. But the F-15's got a very large lifting body. I'd imagine with something like an F-16, it would probably be much harder.
That would be a lot trickier. That's also one of those planes where I'd be more concerned about the flight computer going down on an F-16 because without that, it's not flying at all.
I don't know if you guys saw the RC test flights. Daniel did a couple of ideas using what he referred to as the RC lifting model, which I think they tested in NASA, which is basically like a wedge-shaped plane with practically no wing, and the idea is the body of the plane acts as the lift itself. So if you drop it down, it will just go into a glide ratio. I enjoy stuff. It's always interesting. I enjoyed the fact that guy does some pretty clever stuff, but ends up just duct taping stuff around at the end of it. But yeah,
you can see it starts off with some effort and then ends up with hot glue.
And then it's like, at the end of it, let's just wind around some tape. That'll do it.
He's like the American Tom Stanton, isn't he? Except he was doing it way before Tom.
Yeah, he's been going a long time.
Yeah, predates Flight Test, I think, with Daniel.
Yeah. Does anyone watch Flight Test anymore?
Yeah. We're just sellouts, and today is our new coffee. Woo!
I didn't even know that I haven't watched them.
It's like 10 minutes of coffee or whatever adverts.
You can't deny though that probably most of us wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them.
Yeah,
they've got a lot of people into the hobby. It's kind of a shame what's happened, but it was very, very good at one point. It got a lot of people into the hobby. I'm sure. Now they're just trying to sell stuff.
I mean, if you look at their views and that's all I look at. I don't watch the videos, but I go posted an hour ago, 50,000 views.
There goes Andy, Willie measuring again.
No,
Andy looks at his subscriber and says, "Oh, damn you! We have 200,000 views."
I don't watch the videos because I don't have the time. But whatever they do, they're doing something right, aren't they? They're getting the views, but I haven't watched the videos. Sorry, Flight Test.
You got to beg and stuff.
Sheldon, you've been doing some interesting modifications though with some of the DJI stuff, haven't you? So you've got the. Can you talk about them?
Yeah. Well, the main one we've been doing, this is a Mavic 2. It's got a little hat on top of it, but it's got being shy. It's got a thermal camera. There you go. So on the bottom is a normal one. Above is a thermal camera. If you're wondering why we've done this, because DJI already makes their own, they do, but it's got a very poor quality sensor. So this is double the resolution. So this can actually be useful for search and rescue. So this arrived back from. Sorry to interrupt, Sheldon. Is there some legal thing in the UK about the sensor in a thermal camera for the UK is only allowed to be a certain amount, or in other countries you're allowed to higher resolutions or something? No, it's not for the UK. So that's to do with the United States thinking they own all technology ever made. But it's not as bad as it was. Earlier thermal cameras were under ITAR, which is when they sort of cavity search you if you put in an order. But I think with this, it comes under dual use. So we can buy these and there's no real restrictions. if you want to then sell it to a police force, it comes under a military thing, and then you have to get a export license. So it's actually not as bad as you'd think, but they are still a bit jumpy, and you don't want to get it wrong, because if you do, it can be very, very bad. But there's no real restrictions if you just want to own one yourself.
Are the thermal cameras so that they can fly them up to a burning building and confirm it is actually on fire, or is that kind of search and rescue? What's the primary purpose for testing that kind of tech?
Well, mainly for this, it's just for finding stuff which you can't necessarily see with the visual light camera, like someone hiding in a wheelie bin, or hiding on a roof at night, or someone who is, in a bush unconscious. It's search and rescue mainly, but police are having a lot of luck at the moment with using them in place of helicopters, because there's so few police forces actually have a helicopter to hand now that it will take half an hour to show up.
That's very true.
If they got a drone in the back of the car.
Is it possible to add a speaker mod and to play the noise of the predator from it when it's out hunting for people with thermal imaging?
Well, we've had, I won't go into details, but there's the Mavic 2 Enterprise that has quite a loud speaker on it, and you can record audio onto it, and a couple of the police ones that we've had in have had quite interesting things recorded onto them.
Amazing.
Like, yeah.
Moving on, there's another modification that you've been doing as well that Tony will be more interested in, I think.
I'm not sure we should move on.
Oh, wait, which one are you alluding to?
The one that makes the chemtrails.
Oh, yeah. Okay, well, this isn't, strictly speaking, on a drone, but it's drone related. So it's for a company who make crop spraying chemicals, chemtrails, killer vaccines, and mind control drugs. So it's not too exciting, but they basically it's for the DJI Agras, which is a drone for crop spraying, because what you can spray from a given piece of equipment is incredibly tightly controlled. They're having to certify their chemicals for use in the DJI Agras. So they just want to run the pumps and nozzles, basically the DJI spray equipment, without the drone, because they don't want the drone in the lab. So we just built a thing which runs the pumps at a given flow rate for a given amount of time. So it will simulate a spray pattern. So it will stay on for 10 seconds, then turn off as the drone moves to a new line in the field, and then
of course you don't have to be there if you're doing it. You could set it all up on Google Maps and just let it do it itself and then land when it's empty.
Do you not think
exactly
it's a responsible thing though to be there when it's spraying chemicals? I'm not sure I'd just put it on and then go do my shopping.
Well, you wouldn't want to read the chemicals, would you?
Okay. When you're NJ, when you're 3D printing, do you ever leave the room and just let
He's
it
got
do
a
its
camera
thing?
when he goes out. He has a look back.
I do have a camera.
It's got a camera on it.
Yeah, so that I can always, and I can remotely stop it. And I've got a little program on there called the Spaghetti Detective.
Nice.
And
I need some spaghetti detecting.
Anyone who 3D prints know exactly what the spaghetti reference is. If you knock the top of your print off and it just starts spooling all the filament out, so this little program will alert you that your print has failed and stopped it. So, but yeah, in terms of that, it's ABS. I would absolutely not print and be in the same place because that stuff's very toxic. But
well, you've just ruined about 20 minutes of jokes that I came up with. So.
Well, it's okay because we only have 2 minutes left.
Well, I was just wondering, given that you can't. The thermal cameras with the restrictions, I'm like, why are they there? Because I can't think of anything bad you can do apart. You can play really high tech hide and seek where like people are upset because they're like, oh, I thought my wheelie bin hiding place was amazing, but you found me with your thermal camera. Like what untoward stuff are they dreaming that people might do with it?
Well, can you not see how hot people's willies are with them?
Well, I think the main thing, the main restriction was on the frame rate. So it's 9 hertz. So you get 9 hertz camera, 9 FPS, and then ones which are above 9 hertz. The idea is, what the United States are particularly obsessed about, is something with a frame rate over 9 FPS. They've decided can be used to track emissions. If it's below 9 FPS, it's useless for that.
Tracking what? Sorry, did everyone?
Yeah, we lost you.
We lost you.
Oh,
Tracking what? Above 9 FPS?
Tracking missiles. If it's above 9 frames per second, you can
Disclaimer!
use it to track missiles.
Tracking
That's what they've decided. It's completely arbitrary, and you can still get 60 hertz ones.
So
and if you're selling to the police, you
USA,
need to.
aren't they?
Speaking of the US being arbitrary, it's probably worth mentioning the FAA consultation that's going on at the moment. We don't know so much about that because we're not in the US and there's a lot of reading and can't be bothered with that. But there is a consultation open at the moment. So if you are in the US, find out more about that and get your voice heard. When we had consultations here in the UK, we managed to get quite a few consultation responses sent in. And in the chat, we have Win and Fraser, whose responses actually got published and inserted into the official records. So, you know,
Brilliant.
actually get read and included in consideration. And you know, if we didn't have our responses from the community, I'm sure we would be in a much worse position if you look back at what the proposals were 3 years ago here than we do right now. So
well done, chaps.
Responding to that and get them to have some more sensible rules, because otherwise they'll get over here as well.
I think it's important as well as like what we do as a global community. So, you know, we want to support everybody because usually as well, if something's happening in the US, everybody goes, the US is doing this, perhaps we should. And that's, so it sort of has a sort of, you know.
Well, they were the first people to try out registration, weren't they?
Exactly. And now look at us. So if they're proposing that, then a couple of years down the line, if that goes, so something really needs to be acted upon.
Sorry to go back. I just love the idea that the marketing team for that camera could be like, find people in wheelie bins, now also missile tracking compatible. Like that's how wide the spectrum of things this camera can do.
Versatility is what it's all about. Not just for missile tracking or wheelie bin hide and seek.
Yeah.
Now you can measure the hotness of people's willies. Suggestion by Andy.
It's a thing, man. I can remember vividly.
Where's this going?
Was that the right word?
Should I say this?
You've committed now. If you don't say something, our imaginations will only come up with something worse.
My father's line of work once involved him bringing a thermal imaging camera home, and you could see people's privates with it.
If in the right conditions, you can make out certain features, yes, but not always. And
in this instance, ways.
That is really scary. And
it's time
you're in
to
your living
end
room
the
saying,
show.
Mum, you never guess what I can see.
Not only have I found you in this wheelie bin, I should also let you know, sir, you have very hot eyeballs.
I'll tell you what as well. Remember that woman that was putting cats in wheelie bins? She'd be done for, wouldn't she?
She did.
I think it's time to wrap up the show. So thank you everyone for watching and for listening on the podcast, and thank you all our patrons for supporting us and meaning that we can continue doing all these things and talking all this rubbish. Thank you very much to Sheldon for coming on, and I'm sure if anyone in the chat and listening or needs any, you know, missiles tracking or some privates measuring or some drones fixing because you've flown them into a tree and expected the obstacle collision to solve that problem, dronedoctor.co.uk. This week I have been joined by Andy RC, who has muted himself.
Sorry about that. Ta-ta, guys. Sorry, I was distracted. I'm working on a lot of stuff.
NJ.
See you guys. See you next week.
Tony.
Next week we've got Menace RC and a special guest from the chat and a giveaway as well the next week from Menace. So look forward to that. Bye. Or
and
bye.
Sheldon.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been fun.
I have been Andrew /Frank. next week, we will have Menace RC. So see us then. Thanks for watching and goodbye.
Ta-ta.